Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is video 10 in the series. Today we will focus entirely on state management, how to think about it, and the tools that come up constantly in interviews. We are covering 20 questions: local versus global state, when to reach for context versus redux versus just stand, redux, data flow, and its ecosystem, server state versus client state, and how to structure state in a real large application. If you are preparing for a mid to senior act role, state management questions like these comes up in almost every interview. So let's get into it. uh, so uh, First question is, uh, local state versus global state, what is the difference? So local state lives inside one component using use state or use reducer, only that component and whatever it passes down can see it. Global state lives outside any single component, so any part of the app can read or update it. Rule of thumb: keep state local until multiple unrelated components generally need it. So when should you use context for the state management? Using context for data that doesn't change often, theme, locale, the current user, but it built right into React and it's great for avoiding prop drilling. So just don't reach for it with the data that update constantly, since every consumer re-renders on every single change. When should you use Redux? Reach for a redux when your app is genuinely large and complex with a lot of state shared across many features. It shines when you need every state change to be predictable and traceable, and when strong depth tools like travel debugging actually matter to your team. So, context versus redux, how do you decide? So, that may be an important interview question. So, context is built into React and it's great for simple, rarely changing data. Redux is a separate library built specifically for complex state that changes often, with a much richer ecosystem around it: depth tools, middleware, and Hue community. Uh, Redux toolkit versus traditional Redux. What changed? Traditional Redux involves a lot of manual boilerplate, action types, action creators, handwritten reducers. Redux toolkit cuts all of that down with crate slice and even let you write reducers that look like they mutate state directly, safely, thanks to a library called Immer underneath. For any new Redux project today, RTK is the standard. Explain the Redux data flow step by step. Okay, so Redux data flow is a one-way loop. You dispatch an action, the reducer calculates a new state from it, the store updates and holds that new state, and any connected component re-renders to reflect it. Same loop every single time. That's exactly what makes it predictable. Next question will be, what are reducers? So a reducer is a pure function. It takes the current state and an action and returns a new state without mutating the original. In a real app, you usually split state into the slices, each with its own reducer handling just that piece. So next one comes, what are actions? Uh, so, Action is just a plain object describing what happened, always with a type and often a payload carrying extra data. You send it into the store by calling dispatch, and that's what actually kicks off a state update. What is middleware in Redux? Middleware sit between dispatching an action and it actually reaching the reducer, letting you intercept or modify it along the way. It's exactly where side effects like logging or async logic are supposed to live. Reducers themselves have to stay pure. So, what is a Redux thunk? Redux thunk let an action creator return a function instead of a plain object. That function receives dispatch so you can fire off multiple actions at different points. So, like loading success and error around an API call, it's a simple, most common way to handle async logic in Redux. So, what is a Redux Sega? Redux Saga uses generator function and effects to describe async flows instead of plain async and await. It's generally better suited to complex scenarios, canceling a request, coordinating several actions together, but it comes with a real learning curve compared to Thunk. So next one is what is RTK query? RTK query is Riddle's toolkit built-in data fetching solution. Instead of writing thunks by hand for every API call, you define an endpoint and it automatically handles fetching and caching and generate a ready-to-use hook for you while directly into your Redux store. Server state versus client state. So what's the difference? So server state is data that actually lives on the server. It can go stale and needs caching and refetching. So client state only exists in the browser and you own it completely, like whether a model is open. Mixing these two up is exactly why tools like 10 stack query exist. Uh, 10 stack query versus Redux. How do they compare? So 10 stack query, formerly React query, is built specifically for server state. It handles caching and background refetching automatically with very little code. Redux is more general purpose, better suited to client state and app logic. Many modern apps actually use both together. So let's talk about Just Stand. So choose just and only when we want global state with minimal setup, no provider, no action, no reducer. It's a great fit for small to mid-size apps or when you specifically want a store you can read and update outside of React's component tree. So the next one, how do you structure stale in a large application? In the last app, keep state as local as you can and only make it global once it's genuinely shared. Separate server state from client state. Use a dedicated tool for data from your API and organize global state by future. So each slice has a clear owner. How do you avoid unnecessary global state? Before making something global, ask if it's genuinely needed in more than one place. If it can be derived from data you already have, don't store it separately at all and avoid making still global just in case that adds real complexity for no actual benefit. So, what is state normalization and why does it matter? Normalizing state means storing it flat like a small database, keyed by ID instead of deeply nested. It avoids duplicating the same data in multiple places and makes the updates simpler since you are updating one object directly instead of searching through a nested structure. What are optimistic updates? And optimistic updates mean changing the UI immediately before the server has actually confirmed everything, assuming it will succeed. It makes the app feel instant. If the request does fail, you just roll the UI back to what it was before. So, how do you persist state across page reloads? And the simplest approach is saving a relevant state to local storage and reading it back when the app starts. For Redux specifically, a library like Redux Persistent automates this, saving your store automatically and rehydrating it on the next page load. So So that's a wrap for video 10. We covered local versus global state, context, Redux, and its full ecosystem, server state versus client state, just and how to actually structure and manage state in a large real world application. If this helped, drop a like and subscribe, and let me know in the comment what to cover next. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.